All right, in line 164 of the Aeneid, the Trojans have been saved from the storm, and Virgil is currently describing the beautiful scene in which they find themselves when they find shore. He takes a while to describe the nature and the area, and he describes it as a skyna, which is a stage, so it's like a theater, sort of a natural theater tomb, skyna, and then you have two ablatives, Silvis Koruskis, quivering or flashing, with quivering forests. So I think the idea is that sunlight is streaming through the trees and they're flashing. So the scene, de super is adverbial. Super is usually a preposition, but here it just means from above, and it doesn't go with any nouns. You might want to take that first. Then from above, the skyna, and your next nominative is nemus, and the atrium describes the nemus. A dark grove. Atrium can mean black, but here black grove doesn't make much sense, so dark is better. Horrenti umbra are both ablatives, and there's two ways you can take them. And then imminent is your verb. We get the word imminent, of course. Imminent means to, like, if you're in imminent danger, it's right there hanging above your head. It's not far away. So imminent means overhangs. So a skyna and a dark nemus. You can either say it's dark with shuddering shade, or a dark grove overhangs with shuddering shade. So if you take it with atrium, it's dark with shuddering shade. It's an ablative of cause. Why is it dark? And if you take it with eminent, it's an ablative of manner. So how does it overhang with shuddering shade? We have a nice chiasmus here. Horrenti a, atrium nemus, bb, and then umbra a. We can forgive one verb in the middle, imminent, but if it's too much other than that, it's hard to claim that it's a chiasmus. But here we can skip over imminent. And nemus isn't just any sort of regular grove. It's really a sacred grove where you might expect to find a minor god or goddess of the streams or rivers or trees. So it's a step up from a regular grove. And there's a nice word picture there with your chiasmus. The horrenti umbra is surrounding the atrium nemus. And if you were to picture this idea, the grove would be covered in the shade. It surrounds it and makes it dark, probably. So the grove is within the shade. Fronte sub adversa scopulis pendentibus atrium. Fronte sub adversa is a prepositional phrase, under, and fronte and adversa have the same kind of meaning. Adversa means opposite or facing, and fronte is, of course, a front. Your frons is your forehead of you yourself. So here you might say, like, under the opposite face, or under the facing front. Here we're talking about the rocks that we've just been describing, sort of the twin crags. In English too, you say the face of the mountain, and that's that idea of fronte, sort of the side, really. Scopulis pendentibus is ablative, plural, your is ibus that we see all the time. And atrium is your actual nominative. It's neuter, so it ends in The plural of atrium is atra, because it's neuter. It's a cave. We saw that word when we were talking about Aeolus and his cave. Scopulis pendentibus, the book says, is quality or material. So in this place, there's a cave with hanging rocks or hanging crags. Or sorry, not a rock, a cave. Right, atrium is cave. Pendentibus, you get your NT there, hanging. And of course a pendant is something that hangs from a necklace, or a pendulum is the tick-tock clock part that hangs down and swings back and forth. And there's no verb there. You might want to supply an est. There is a cave under the facing front because there's no verb. Intus aquae dulces vivoque sedelia saxo. Into just mean within, the idea within the cave. Sweet waters. And sedelia is nominative. It's that neuter plural a as opposed to the feminine a, which is singular. So a word like insula, femina, those are singular, and the plural is insulae, feminae. Sedelia is neuter, but it's plural. So a can be nominative singular or nominative plural, depending on the gender. It's like sedet, right? The verb to sit. Sedelia are seats. So sweet waters and seats, vivo saxo, sort of from living rock, from rock alive. It is a cave is making, rocks that are suitable places to sit down. Even today we say like living rock is rock that's still connected to the earth. Yeah, you might want a word picture you could make an argument for the sedelia. Like a seat is something that surrounds you. You sit in it, and it goes around your body. And vivo saxo goes around sedelia, like sedelia sitting in between the vivo saxo, so in the natural rock, the living rock. Nympharum domus, a home of the nymphs. So this maybe explains a little bit why it's a nemus. There are nymphs that live here. And domus is in apposition to atrum, so it describes the atrum. So there's a cave, a home of nymphs. So it's in apposition to atrum, or it is an appositive here. It's nominative, appositive to antrum. Okay. Hic fesas non vincula navis ulla tenent. Hic is different from hic. Hic with a long I, if you scan this, and there's that C and the F after you, so you can tell it's going to be long, means here. Hic, which would be a short I, means this, and it's an adjective, so it would describe it. This man, this woman. Well, it's masculine, so it wouldn't be this woman. I like to think about it, if it's a long mark, it's like a seat, and you can sit on it. So you can sit here, but you can't have this seat, if that makes sense. So here, vincula ulla is nominative, fesas navis is accusative plural, tenent is our verb. So you can see tenent is plural, so now we know vincula has to be nominative plural, so it must be neuter, just like sedelia up here. So a vinculum is one chain. So here, non-vincula, no chain, ulla, which is any, not any chain, which is the same thing. No, none, right? No chains at all. Not any chain holds tenant the tired ships. Tenant, we get great words from tenant. Tenant, even a person who holds residence in a building. Tenacious, if you're very tenacious, you don't let go. Right? You're tenacious and you follow your dreams. You never let go. Fessos, we've seen before, it was the word used to describe the Aenei, the people of Aeneas. Maybe used later, I can't remember. So here we have personification, definitely. Ships can't be tired, people can be tired, but Fessos describes navis, so personification, a definite enjambment here with your vincula going down to your ulla and your verb. The next line. And we can get a two-line chiasmus going too. Fessos, vincula, navis, ulla. I'm sorry, that's not chiasmus at all. It's A-B, A-B, which is interlocked word order. Synthesis. And again, words like non, we can forgive that being in the middle of our interlocked word order. If it were much else, if it's a big word, like if it were another adjective in there, If it said non-hic, it's too many words. Unco non alligat ancora morsu. Unco and morsu go together, they're ablatives. Non alligats are verb and ancoras are nominative. An anchor does not bind with hooked bite. Morsu is bite, like a morsel of food is just a bite of food, and ancora means anchor. Alligat is really the word odd to, and ligat, which means to bind. Think about like a ligature. Can be many things. It's just something that binds things or ties it to another thing. The book mentions that using the word unco there, it's anachronistic. The people of Aeneas's time would not have had the kind of anchors that we think about as stereotypical anchors with the hook. Kind of looks like a fish hook. They probably would have had just something really heavy, like a boulder or a piece of metal, like an anvil kind of, that would keep their ships in place. The Trojan War, traditionally 1180 BC is when it's dated to. Of course, Aeneas didn't really exist, so a lot of this it never really happened anyway. But in fact, he's going to Carthage, which wasn't founded until much later, so he couldn't go there anyway if he were in Africa. But the sense of this idea, the no chains, no anchor, is that the water is so peacefully calm that if they leave their ships, they won't drift off. There's no sort of current at all. So they just leave their ships. Huc septem Aeneas collectis navibus omni ex numero subit. Huc is different from hic in that it means to here. So if you're going to call someone to you in Latin, you'd say veni huc, come to here. It has a motion idea toward it. Septem means seven. Seven numbers are kind of difficult in Latin because they don't change their endings ever. If you need the accusative, it's septem. If you need the nominative, it's septem. If you need the ablative, it's septem. So we'll have to figure out what case it is just based on context. Aeneas is nominative. Collectis navibus is our ablative absolute, with the ships having been collected. You can even say after the ships were collected. Omni ex numero, out of the entire number, 7 is where you might put that. Aeneas subit, which means he goes under. It's the idea of going into this place, into this bay that's surrounded by crags, with a cave, with nymphs. So Aeneas enters with the ships having been collected out of all the number 7 to here. He started out with 20 ships, so that storm sent by Aeolus, ordered by Juno, did a real number on his fleet. Ac magno telluris amore, and magno and amore are ablatives of manner. With a great love, telluris means of the earth. Tellus is also the name of the god, like a minor god of the earth. So Tellus, it's like the word terra, tellus. And I would say this is a word picture, that the great love is surrounding the earth, like giving it a hug. With the great love of the earth, egressi optata potiuntur Troies harena. Egressi means going out, and it describes the Troies. The going out, the Trojans, potiuntur, which is deponent, so it looks ablative, but you're going to translate it passively. And it takes an ablative. It means they gain, or they gain possession of, kind of they win. They gain optata harena, wished for sand. And it's ablative because of the word potiuntur, takes an ablative instead of an accusative. So going out, the Trojans gain, take possession of, wished for sand. Optata, remember, like to opt for something means to want it, so it's wished for. Harena is where we get the word arena from. An arena is where people fight, like gladiators. And there's always sand put down to make it harder for them to slip, right, to give them some traction, and it also absorbs any blood or sweat. It makes the floors slippery. So here I was trying to make this into an A-B-A-B when I noticed that it's in fact a golden line. Golden lines are when you have adjective A, adjective B, verb, noun A, noun B. So aggressi goes with troies, that's our adjective A, noun A, and optata goes with harena, that's our adjective B, noun B, and our verbs in the middle. It's supposed to be, just the height of balance and beauty, this line. And there's an insane Wikipedia article on golden lines if you want to know more than you ever wanted about golden lines. There are 34 golden lines in the Aeneid and 26 silver lines. If we swapped out our A and our B nouns, so that B came first and then A, and it was kind of like a chiasmus A, B, B, A, instead of A, B, A, B, that's called a silver line. It's really important as you're reading. Latin has such more flexibility in word order than English, to keep in mind that every sentence is put together very deliberately. Virgil didn't just put things together in order to make the meter happen, but in order to help facilitate the story. And so this is a line. They're so happy. They're gaining their wished for sand with the great love of the world, of the earth. We're in line 172, and they've basically been knocked about the whole time. So this line might reflect the beauty that the Trojans see in this place, this Nemus, or their joy and happiness at being able to set foot on land once more. And if you want to know the percentage of lines in the Aeneid that are the golden line, you can check out the Wikipedia article. It has quite a lot of information. Okay, so they gain sand, and sale tebentis artus in litore ponunt. And they place their artus, their limbs, that's fourth declension. Tabentis, dripping. Sale, with salt, that's an ablative of means, by means of salt. In litore, sort of into the shore, on the shore. So they place their limbs dripping with salt on the shore, and salt, of course, from the ocean, right? Salt water, sort of salt encrusted at this point. Tabentis, that nt, present participle, which is why we said drip in, ing. Ac primum silicis scintillam excudit Achates. Achates is a Trojan leader. So and at first, so this is what Achates does first. He accuded, which is to strike, and scintillum is a spark. And we get the word scintillating, right? If you give me scintillating information, it sort of sparks my interest. And it's also a name in Latin for women, scintilla. So it's kind of the name Sparky. Silici is an ablative of separation. So he strikes a spark from the flint. Silici is where we get the word silicon. Silicon is a natural element from which we make electronic circuits, like Silicon Valley. Silicon's really kind of a mineral, and here in Latin it means flint. Suscepit quae ignum folis, and he suscepit. He takes up ignem, a flame. Foliis is ablative of means, by means of leaves, right, like foliage. Folium is the word for a leaf in Latin, and we get the word like portfolio from it. A portfolio carries around your leaves of paper, right? Like we say, a leaf of paper. And su capit is really sub capit. Capit means to take. And sub capit doesn't mean to take under, it means to take out from underneath. So really to take up from under. So he takes up sort of a flame, fire, by means of leaves, and he arida circum nutrimenta dedit, and he gives dry nutrimenta, which is like nutrients, food. But what is food except fuel for your body? So nutrimenta here is fuel, and it's arida, it's arid, dry. And he gives dry fuel circum, just around. You can take it adverbially and just say around, or you can have it understood ignem, right? He gives it around the fire. That sounds really strange in English, so you might just want to say he put. We are back in the perfect tense now. Ponunt in 173 is present tense. Let me check the principal parts of excudit. Cudo, cudere, cudi. Excudit. Well, that could be either present or perfect. So, this capit is perfect. Otherwise, it'd be kipit with an I. Dedit is definitely perfect. Other would be dot. He gives. Rapuit with that U in there is definitely perfect. So, dedit is one of our reduplicated forms of the perfect. So, skepit is what a vowel change. All that changed is an I to an E. And then rapuit is that U. Or VL sucks, where L is just like a long vowel or a vowel change. And he takes up the flame from the tinder. There's really a two-part process to making a fire. First, you have to get the spark to catch on some sort of tinder, and then you have to transfer that tinder into a real flame. So there's two parts. Tum. Cererem corruptum undis cerealia quarma expediunt feci rerum. Oh, here's our second feci. That still means tired. And then the tired people, the tired men, and in Latin you're tired, when you're tired from something, you use the genitive, kind of like we say we're tired of something. So tired from this business, rerum, you have to think of something good, this affair, this situation. So tired from it, they expediunt, they bring out Cererem Ceres, who's a goddess. She's the goddess of grain. We get the word cereal from it. Cereal really at its heart is grain. And we have this idea in English of putting milk in it now at your breakfast. Ceres in Greek is Demeter. Her daughter is Persephone, who was kidnapped by Hades and is the queen of the underworld. So here, to bring out Ceres really means to bring out grain. She's the goddess of grain, which is metonymy, when you use a word closely associated in place of the actual word. So in English we say things like the White House issued a statement, where of course it's a building, so it can't. We really mean the president, or the Democratic Party, or the secretary of something. So it's metonymy. Cererem is metonymy for grain. So it's grain corruptum. It's corrupt. It's ruined. Undis, by the waves. So it's been made salty by the salt water of the sea. So tired of this situation, tired by the situation, they bring out grain ruined by the waves, and the weapons, the cerealia is the adjective of Ceres, the Ceresian weapons, which doesn't mean that at all. It means utensils, because the goddess of grain wouldn't have weapons, would she? So you would just say the utensils of Ceres. Okay, I kept looking at it. There we go. Frugesque receptas et torre parant flammis et frangere saxo. And they prepare parant to parch or roast torere, the fruges, which is the real word for grain. Receptas means sort of taken back, which the book explains means to taken back from the sea, right? The taken back grain, or the book may give you a better word for that. I'm not going to look. They prepare to toast the grain taken back, and flammis is means. How are they going to parch it? By means of flames. And they are preparing, you have to take your parant again, to frangere saxo, to break by means of rock. And again, it's that break the grain. So a better translation for frangere might be to crush or even to grind, because they're going to make it into flour, which is why they're toasting it first. If it's wet or even if it's fresh, if you grind up the grain, it'll just be mushy and soggy. So you toast it first, and then when you grind it up into flour, it's nice and dry. All right, so bring any questions you have, if you have any, and we will continue on.